Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle highlighted the complex dynamics within the Catholic Church regarding Pope Francis's call for synodality, suggesting that pockets of resistance are often rooted in fear of change and insecurities about Catholic identity. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. In a recorded discussion with Holy Cross Father Stephen Newton, who is the executive director of the Association of U.S. Catholic Priests, Tagle urged both individuals and communities to confront these resistance forces directly. The recorded conversation was presented during the association's 12th annual assembly, held at the University of San Diego on June 14. Tagle, who is a prominent figure in the Vatican as the pro-prefect for the evangelization department, had initially intended to address the assembly in person. However, he adjusted his plans when Pope Francis requested his presence at the National Eucharistic Congress in Congo, which took place from June 4 to 11. The assembly focused on the critical theme of synodality within the Church, emphasizing the roles of both clergy and laypeople in fostering a culture of listening and collaboration in response to Pope Francis's invitation. Tagle expressed robust support for the ongoing 3-year synodal process, which is preparing for the first of 2 meetings of the Synod of Bishops scheduled for October 4 to 29, with a subsequent session planned for October 2024. In his remarks, Tagle reflected on the lessons learned from his experiences, noting that fear of change can severely limit the Church's ability to respond to the evolving needs of the world. This fear, he cautioned, can create barriers that keep communities separated rather than fostering unity. He articulated a concern about the tendency to use faith-related issues to bolster ideological positions rather than adhere to authentic Catholic teachings. Tagle emphasized that when there is insecurity about one's identity, there is often a strong inclination to establish rigid parameters and boundaries, which can create divisions among believers. He painted a vivid picture of how attitudes rooted in fear and insecurity can undermine communion and dialogue within the Church. Imagine how an attitude of fear and insecurity would stop all links of communion, all dialogue, all listening processes, he said, stressing that these would be seen as threatening activities. Tagle elaborated on the origins of the current discussions around synodality, explaining that the Second Vatican Council provided the foundational framework for these conversations. He expressed his vision of a synodal church as one that rediscovers the wonderful gift of the Spirit bestowed upon the Church during Vatican II. His disappointment over attempts to undermine the synod was palpable, as he urged individuals to engage with the actual documents and teachings of Vatican II rather than relying on mischaracterizations or biased interpretations. The conversation also delved into the importance of cultural sensitivity within the Church, underscoring the need for clergy to recognize that they do not possess all the necessary talents to manage the Church effectively. "We don't have to imitate each other," Tagle stated, advocating for an appreciation of the unique gifts individuals bring to the Church. He envisioned a Church that celebrates diversity and fosters an exchange of gifts, emphasizing that this exchange should be for the sake of service rather than personal gain. In reflecting on his own role as a cleric in promoting synodality, Tagle highlighted the necessity of approaching his vocation as one of service, rather than viewing it as a rank or social position that elevates him above others. He articulated a vision of walking alongside others in the Church rather than leading from a place of separation. "If we could start with that the priest becomes servant, celebratory rather than looking always harassed," he suggested, emphasizing the importance of thriving within a community. He pointed out that priests should be the first to recognize and appreciate the abundance of God's love within their communities and to acknowledge the diverse gifts that community members possess. Through his insights, Tagle calls for a transformative approach within the Church, one that fosters unity, embraces diversity, and encourages open dialogue in order to truly respond to the challenges of today's world.